Hi, Christine here at Christine's Craft Table. I am trying an experiment today. So I was watching a video by Nancy at She's Got Yarn Too, and she was sitting there crocheting. No, actually today she wasn't crocheting. She was showing us some things. But she does these videos where she just kind of sits and works on her project and talks with you, and I find it very relaxing to sit and crochet with her. So I thought I'd give this a try and see if it's interesting to anybody or if anybody wants to sit and crochet with me. I'm not quite ready to do a live. Maybe that will come. But for now, I thought I would try an edited video and see how it goes. So today I am working on this Peaceful Lullaby blanket by Crystal at Bag O' Day Crochet. I'm getting very close to finishing. I'm just working on the border now. And this is a project I started back in November of last year. I don't know why I just hit a stall on it and I stopped working on it. Maybe it was the color changes. I actually mapped out this color sequence on Excel and then put it to work. Crystal did hers all in one color, and then she did hers is a little bit smaller, and she did a ruffly border. It's a baby blanket. So I just made mine slightly bigger, and I still have a bunch of ends to sew in. At first I was carrying the yarn along the sides because, you know, the different colors. When I would stop working on a color, I would just carry it along the side while I worked on the other color. But I found I was just getting tired of working those ends in. When you carry it, you have to work it into the last stitch so it travels with you. And I got tired of that, so I started clipping them, and now I have a lot of ends to sew in. And it also makes your edge pretty thick, because as you're carrying along, well, in this case, sometimes I would be carrying along 3 strands because I have 4 colors here. It makes your ends really thick. So anyhow, why did I go into all that? I don't remember. I'm just telling you the status of the blanket. So anyway, I got motivated to finish it because Jax, again, she has such great ideas, I tell you. Jax at Creations by Jax. I think her real name's Jackie, but everybody calls her Jax, online at least. So she had this idea to celebrate Crystal at Bag O' Day this month, being the month that she hit 1 million subscribers. She calls it the month of bod, although recently in a video she said it was going to turn into the year of bod because she's not finished yet, or she doesn't think she's going to finish her projects by the end of April. But my goal was to finish this by the end of April, to celebrate Crystal's success, since it's a Crystal pattern. And that was the idea, to finish a whip that you had started that was one of Crystal's patterns, or to do one of Crystal's patterns this month. And I really love this pattern. It's a cute blanket. It's kind of bumpy, so it's got some nice squishiness to it. This is Red Heart Super Saver, and it's actually not bad. I mean, everybody complains that Super Saver is so rough, but it's not as soft as, you know, Karen's Simply Soft or the actual baby yarn blanket type yarns. But it's supposedly softens up more and more every time you wash it. And I have experienced that washing at least once a blanket I made with Red Heart Super Saver. It was one of my Christmas blankets that I have for sale on my Etsy channel, Etsy page, Etsy shop. And it softened up a great deal. I mean, it's fine now. So I anticipate the same will happen with this one. So I'm not worried about that. It is for one of my new great nephews, and he lives in California. So it is a little bit thick, but they do have chilly winters, and he could also use it as a play blanket, I'm thinking, because it's so nice and cushy. So I think it'll work. I know they love the colors of gray, black, and white because of one of the sports teams out there. I'm not even going to try and say which one because I think it might be the Raiders, but don't quote me on that because I don't follow sports teams, but I just know that those are the colors of one of the teams they like. Anyway, and I'm almost done. I'm so excited. So I decided not to do the frilly border just because it's a boy, and I am going to try a camel stitch border. It looks like a very neat looking border, and I can make it as wide as I want. And the first round was just single crochets to even everything up. So I did that. And now I'm on the second round, and it is a half double crochet. And I'm just learning this for the first time, so I will need to check the video for the next step. But I'm working on the half double crochet row. So anyway, if you want to work on a project along with me, feel free. And I hope you will. And I'll see how long I can think of things to talk about. Excuse me. I am not that talkative is the problem. And there's a scripture that says something like, or a proverb that says something like, there's folly in too many words, or meaning be careful about just letting your mouth run, because you might end up saying something foolish or silly or even offensive. I tend to get in trouble when I try and be funny because nobody ever gets my humor, and I end up offending someone. So I'm not going to try and be witty. It doesn't work for me, I tell you. Maybe if you know me really well, then you can understand it. But for strangers or people who just don't know me that well, I have found that it's not a good thing. Or maybe I don't know them well enough, so I don't know if they will appreciate my humor. So, we'll stay away from jokes. If you want to see my attempt at jokes, you can watch my National Crochet Month video called Silly, and I made an attempt at some jokes that were not very funny, but they amused me. So there you go. It's also a challenge for me to talk and work at the same time. So if I start making a lot of mistakes, I may abandon this project. Or not the project, but you and me working together. So, did anybody catch the big party last night? Crystal at Bag O' Day gave away a ton of beautiful yarn. I mean, she was just filling box after box. I lost count at how many boxes she gave away. But it was a lot of fun. And Mr. Bod was there, as well as Evelyn Rose. And they were all decked out in gold lame. It was so fun and so cute. It was just sweet to see just her family around her, supporting her, and to see how happy she was when they opened up the box for the YouTube plaque for 1 million subscribers. I almost got emotional myself as Mr. Bod read the letter. You could see Crystal getting emotional too. It's a huge accomplishment. And what I am coming to realize and know that for me, I'll never even aspire to get that many subscribers, is there's a price you pay for getting too popular on YouTube. Because, evil exists even in the crochet world. Sadly, you would think something as benign as crochet would not attract crazies, but it does. People who have lost all sense of right and wrong and would just do horrible things. I don't know if it's out of spite or jealousy, or it's just really sad, really twisted. And she has experienced so much of that negativity that she did nothing to deserve except for be successful at what she does. Honestly, I've never heard an unkind thing out of her mouth. All she does is just pour out herself to teach others to crochet. I mean, she did so much for me, improving my skill in this and my confidence, and all of those crochet tutorials out there for free. Nobody else has that, not in that quantity. I mean, it just blows my mind. Yes, she does sell written patterns on Etsy, but she gives away so much for free that it's, it's just pennies what she makes on her patterns, seriously. And then she does those bundles now and then. I think the latest one she ended, or she said she was going to be ending it soon, where she'll give you all the patterns in her Etsy shop, which is, I think it was more than 300. I can't even remember the number. It's hundreds, for like $50, $60. I got mine on an incredible sale about a year ago maybe, and I only paid $35. It was like a short-term deal she had going. But that was amazing. I am so blessed by that. Can you imagine what a book, if she put all those patterns in a book, what that would sell for? I mean, you buy a little crochet magazine with, maybe 50 patterns in it, and it's $10. So, yeah, it's just amazing how her generosity and how much she has given away. I need to concentrate on this corner or I'm never going to get it done. Hold on. When I did my first round of single crochets, I forgot to do the chain 2 in between at the corners. So now I'm having to work my corner for my second row in one of the single chains. And I want to make sure I choose the right one so that it ends up looking like it's in a corner. So that little hole that you get in the corners is lined up with the last one. Okay, so I did my chain 2, and I need my other half double in the same stitch. Okay. Proceed down the next side. So anyway, I have not seen anybody else give away so much as she has. Granted, I've only been following crochet on YouTube for a short time, a couple years now, 3 years, I think. So I haven't explored all the channels there are out there. But I've seen quite a bit. I spend a lot of time on YouTube on crochet, crochet videos. And other stuff, sadly. I actually prefer YouTube now to television. Honestly, it's just... I started getting so fed up with commercials on TV. I can't even watch them anymore. If I watch a movie now and a commercial comes on, at least I have to mute it. Then it makes me feel like I have some control. And I can look away. And do you notice they're always about food? It's either food or pharmaceuticals, and I don't want either. Okay. Yeah, so. Oh, so what do I watch on YouTube? Okay, I can talk about that. I think that's safe. Did I finish talking about the party? So yeah, she's endured a lot to get to that 1 million subscribers. That's for sure. And that is all I will say about that, except for I'm proud of her, and I'm proud of her keeping her sanity through it all and continuing to help others. I mean, you hear some of the letters she gets and even the comments on her videos. She has positively touched so many lives and brought people out of just sad places in their life because of crochet, bringing them, you know, some joy and some purpose, and maybe even some who pick it back up after having dropped it for decades. So she deserves good things. So what do I watch on YouTube? Oh yeah, okay. I scared my dogs away. I think they don't like to hear me talking to myself. We usually crochet in silence, or else listening to an audiobook or a YouTube video. And usually I'll have one or both of them just hanging out with me. But not now. So if I keep doing this, they'll just have to get used to it. So for now, I'm on my own. What do I watch on YouTube for the 5th time? Oh, there's Becky at, I think it's called Acre Homestead. Her name is Acre, I think, A-C-R-E. And her first name's Becky. She has a gardening channel. Well, she does gardening and she does food preservation and preparation, like mega preparation. She does freezer meals, canning, dehydrating, you know, with those dehydrating machines. She'll cook up meals for like, I don't know, a month and put them in her freezer. And it's fascinating. And I know she has recipes in front of her, though she seldom picks them up. And lots of times it seems like she's winging it. Or she's just really good at checking out a recipe without you noticing. But she is like Miss Organization. Just a dynamo in the kitchen and in the garden. She has these raised beds. Her garden, like they built these I think she has 20 of them, something crazy, raised beds to do her gardening in. And so she starts them out in a growing room in her home, and then she transfers the little seedlings to the raised beds. And sometimes her mom and dad come and help her because it's a lot of work. And she grows chickens, and it's a great channel. I would check it out if you like just good, clean, homemaking type videos. She had a baby, her first baby, not maybe a year ago, I guess. And she went through the whole pregnancy and was very, very forthcoming with information. She talked about her whole experience. Once the baby was born, she doesn't show the baby on video, but up until then, I mean, she talked about him all the time as she was pregnant, and even the whole birthing process. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody share as much as she did. Very interesting. So I watch Becky, and her videos are typically pretty long because she tells you everything, like her whole thought process of why she is planting this certain variety of cauliflower or green bean or flowers, or who she buys her dirt from, and just everything. I mean, if you really wanted to be a gardener, you could learn a lot from her. Even, I don't garden, but I find it all fascinating, so I watch her. Who else? Oh, A&E, the 48 hours type programs. I don't know why. It's this morbid fascination, I guess, with the crime. Stories. That one I'm not proud of, but for some reason I keep watching those. What else? Well, of course, there's Grace to You, John MacArthur. I'll watch his sermons any day of the week. Right now I'm going through a series on Romans. I think it's from a while back, but they just started putting them on Grace to You's YouTube channel. And interestingly enough, I was working on memorizing some of those first chapters of Romans. So it's interesting to hear the sermons now because the text is so familiar. I don't have the actual chapter memorized. I have an app on my phone called, I think it's called Bible Memory, and you can type in the whole, well, basically it'll help you memorize anything because you can type it in from scratch, or you can download the different Bible versions. Anyway, I put in the texts that I want to memorize. And I don't like to memorize single verses. Like, I'll choose a passage or usually a chapter. And the app lets you, first you type it all out looking at it, and then it'll delete every other word. And then the next step, once you get like, I have it at 90%, but you can go higher or lower, depending how much right you want to get. You know, it allows you that much. It allows me 10% mistakes, and then it'll move me on to the next verse if I you know, get 90% right. And then the next one is, so it's, the whole text is there, and then you type that out, and then you succeed on that one, and then you do the section where it's every other word is missing, and then the mastery level is just a blank screen, and you type out the whole verse yourself. You can type out each word, or you can type just the first letter, and then if you get the first letter right, it puts, you know, the word in. So you still have to know what word it is, but you don't have to type out the whole word. So you choose how you want to work on the memory. So I'm usually doing the middle one where it's giving me every other word, or it omits every other word. So after I master it once, where I can type it all out on a blank screen, then it puts it on a sequence where first it's like every 24 hours, and then you get better at it, and then it moves you to every week. I think the most is once a month. That'll give you that text again to review. So anyway, on my review, I always choose the one where it gives me every other word. So I don't really have them memorized, but I'm familiar enough with the text that I can do every other word, or I can type it out, seeing every other word. Why did I say all that? Oh, because Romans. I've been working on Romans chapter 1, chapter 5, 7, 6, 7, and 8, I think. That's what I have. And so I'm really enjoying those sermons by Pastor John MacArthur on Grace to You on YouTube, because he's going through that text. Like for chapter 1, he'll have a sermon on, you know, the first verse. He'll have like 3 different sermons on just the first verse. So he really goes into detail. Okay, I'm back at a corner, so let me figure out what I'm doing. And hopefully I did do half double crochets on every stitch. Like I said, it's hard to talk and work at the same time. I think it's an acquired skill. Let's see. Okay, where's my corner? I don't have a corner. Okay, I have to make a corner. I think that's the right stitch. Yeah. So, half double, chain 2, and half double. And then I'm going to slip stitch into my first half double, and I need to study the next row. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Well, that's interesting. Again, did I say? I did say I'm doing a camel stitch on border on my blanket here. The tutorial I'm following is by Winding Road Crochet. It's called the Camel Stitch Blanket Border. Works for any blanket. And she's very good at telling you how to do this. But I didn't realize that it's worked in the 3rd loop. That's going to take some getting used to. I'm not crazy about working in one loop only. It just seems odd. I know it makes some very pretty stitch patterns, but I always feel like it's not as secure for some reason, and that's just in my own head. I know. Because yes, that's going to be very pretty. I'll show you in a minute when I get a few more done. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, my scripture memory. So yeah, if you're interested in memorizing scripture, it's a great little app. I think it costs $9.99, something like that. And every once in a while, they'll have a 20% off sale. I think that's what I used when I bought it. It's worth it. I was spending a lot of time. I got into a few games. Well, solitaire. I always had a problem. Addiction to playing solitaire on my phone or my computer. And then it was Tetris. Oh my goodness. I spent hours playing Tetris. And Sudoku, I don't remember how you say it. That was another one. And I just got to the point where I'm like, I just didn't want to, I wanted to use my time a little more productively. I felt like I was just wasting this time playing those games. I think there is some benefit to, keeping your mind active and your brain cells working. It's certainly better than sitting in front of a TV set not doing anything but staring at the screen. But I felt like it wasn't a good use of my time. So that's when I found, actually my brother told me about that scripture memory program. And for some reason, as I've grown older, I feel like I've lost brain cells or something. And I thought, well, I'll try it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to memorize anything, because lately I didn't have the focus. And I figured, well, even if I can't recite them rote, like just name a verse and I'll say it to you. Even if I don't get that far, if I just have those scriptures going on in my mind and I'm meditating on them as I'm trying to memorize them, you can't help it. You're thinking about the words that you're memorizing. That's got to be better for me than some of the other things I was doing. So I started working on them, and it's fun. They make it fun because you get points for memorizing, and there's a whole ranking system, and there's I think when I started, there were about 16,000 people on the app. So I was, number 16,000. And it ranks you by points. So the more points you get studying verses, the more. And you get points for, even reviewing them, it's not like you have to be able to say a verse outright to get points for it. So yeah, it's been several years now, and I find that sometimes even when I'm talking to somebody or we're just having a conversation and you're looking for something to say, or they're needing advice, or you're trying to comfort them in some respect, those verses will come to mind, or the things that I've been thinking about as I'm memorizing, those things come to mind at the right time, and I'm able to offer that wisdom, knowing that it comes from, the perfect source. It's not my opinion, it's God. And if God said it, we can trust it. So I love that. I love that those are the things that are running around in my head, instead of how to fit two blocks together in the right order. So let's see, I went over Acre Homestead and Grace to You. Oh, Behold Israel. That is a channel by Amir Sarfati. It's Tsarfati. He is Israeli and I guess you call him a Messianic Jew. He's a Jew who believes in Jesus Christ and is a Christian Jew. Jewish by heritage, Christian now. And he lives in Israel. And he gives wonderful teachings. He's got a cool sense of humor and just a very good speaker. And he likes to speak on prophetic topics. Lots of times just his insight, because he's doing the teaching with that whole history of the Jewish people and the traditions of the Jewish traditions, that religion. So he's got that perspective. For instance, he did I think the very first time I heard him speak, he was doing an explanation of how all of the elements of the Passover meal point to Jesus Christ. And I couldn't recite each of them to you now, but it was fascinating. And so he has that, from his history and that religion. And I think he even says he wasn't saved reading the New Testament. He was saved reading the Old Testament and seeing Christ in the Old Testament. Because if you look, Christ is in Genesis. The prophecy about bruising. Oh, now I can't remember the verse where you'll strike his head and he will bruise your heel or something. That's a prophetic verse pointing to Jesus Christ. So anyway, I love listening and watching that channel. He also does a lot of news updates, and he will tell you the things that you're not seeing on mainstream media. For instance, oh my goodness, he always pointed to Telegram, because there's a lot that he cannot say on YouTube, or his channel would probably be shut down just because it's controversial and it's not what the main narrative wants you to hear. So he's got a Telegram channel where there's no censorship whatsoever. And after October 7th, I can't even watch some of the stuff that he posted. He's kind enough on Telegram. He's kind enough to blur the violent stuff, and you have the option to unblur it if you want to see. But I mean, he showed it all, from my understanding, just the horrific stuff that was going on that day against the people in the kibbutz and people at the festival. And you weren't going to see that anywhere else. So he tells you like it is. And he even reports on news that's going on in the U.S. and in other countries. Again, stuff that, you know, for some reason we're not getting anywhere else. You have to go to the independent people who don't give news from bullet points handed out to everyone. So that's Behold Israel. And who else do I watch? Okay. Yeah, I watch silly stuff too. There's Franny Nation. Okay, these are not long videos. These are shorts. It's a little chihuahua named Franny, and she loves her postman named Dan. And every day she sits at the door waiting for Dan to arrive. And so they film her running out. They wait till he stops his van. And she runs out the door to greet him. And they've always got her dressed in some adorable little outfit. Okay, I've come to a corner, so I have to concentrate. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. This is kind of fun. I feel like I'm not crocheting alone, even though I really am talking to myself. I'll try and keep these to around an hour, I think. We'll see how this goes. I'll start a playlist called Crocheting with Christine. How's that? And you can come along if you like. So I promised to show this to you, and I realized I hadn't. There's my first row of the camel stitch. That is cute. Very orderly. My ends. It turns out the corners are pretty easy. Just like regular. Half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet. And then you go back to working in the back loops. That's the fun part, finding your first back loop. Okay, is that it or is that it? I think that's it. It's not bad once you get used to. Once you get used to it. I'm using my trusty Michael's yarn stand, or yarn stand I purchased at Michael's. It works pretty well. Sometimes the skein gets hung up, so you just have to give it a tug, or sometimes if you're using the little stoppers on the ends, it'll get tangled in the stopper. But that's not bad. It beats having a skein rolling around in a box or a bowl, or worse, just having it sit on the table and roll around, or trying to work from the middle, because we all know yarn barf is not fun to deal with. And there are very few skeins I have found that I can work from the middle the whole time without experiencing yarn barf. I think maybe Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton is one of the few. Yarn Bee Sugar Wheel was also where I could successfully go from the middle and not find any yarn bars. But you try and do that with Red Heart, or even what was another one? I've had some bad ones. I don't know. I think it's easier to think of the ones I have not experienced it with, because it's generally the rule. Usually I end up having to, I get such a bad one that I end up having to stop everything, wind from the back end into a ball to be able to untangle. It just gets awful. You waste so much time. I will snap a picture of my yarn stand and insert it somewhere around here. Before I post the video, because it was only, I want to say, just over $20. Totally worth it. And it holds 3 skeins at one time. I mean, it's got the T, so it holds one on each arm of the T, and then there's another one standing straight up, so you can conceivably put one on there too. Good girl. One of my dogs just came to check on me. She doesn't like that she cannot get to me. But maybe she'll settle down. Good girl, lay down. She probably hears me talking and wonders, who is she talking to? There's nobody here. Who else do I watch? Hillbilly Kitchen. I actually don't watch too much of her, but for a while there I was. She's another cook. She doesn't do the mega preparation, just one dish at a time. But she keeps it very simple. I just realized I wasn't wearing my ring. I hardly ever wear my ring at home, just because it's got a high profile and it catches on things. Or sometimes my dog starts licking my hand, and I'd rather her not licking my ring. Okay, where was I? Oh, Hillbilly Kitchen. So, I don't remember her name, but she is somewhere in the South, and she cooks very straightforward meals. I wouldn't say she's like super, I mean, she doesn't do like organic or low salt or low sugar. It's just normal cooking, not really heavy. I mean, she doesn't load everything with butter and oil, but she uses normal ingredients. She doesn't use anything weird. Everything you're gonna find, or you might even already have in your pantry. I guess you'd say the opposite of gourmet. She likes to do some dishes that are like from the Depression area, or like on an extreme budget. Here's what you can put together for not very much money. That's it. Budget friendly cooking. She once showed her kitchen size, because you really can't get a good idea of how big her kitchen is just seeing the one, you know, the one shot from the camera. Her camera doesn't move around at all. So, you know, she basically cooks like right in front of you on her counter. And so once she said, you know, my kitchen's very small, and she can actually stand and reach both counters if she stands and puts her arms out. I'm like, oh my gosh. It is tiny. I think my kitchen is bigger than her kitchen. No, I don't have a big kitchen. But it's just fascinating that she can do all of that. She's got like 300,000 subscribers or something huge. And be such a success with, you know, the tools that she has. That's like some of the best cooks I've known have had kitchens like that, very tiny kitchens, but they could whip up some meals. My mom was like that. She never had anything fancy. She had a pretty small kitchen, and yet she was known for her cooking. And she could cook for a lot of people, too. She had some giant pots. She would make tamales and sell them, or strawberry pies and sell them. I mean, she was able to invest in some things that made projects like that easier. Like they would sell these plastic, they must have been Tupperware, pie holders, and they stacked one on top of the other. And oh my gosh, she must have had 24 of them. I mean, she made quantity when she sold pies out of the kitchen, her own kitchen. She would sell pies to make money for our school clothes. She was very enterprising. That's my mom. And tamales. She was also known for her tamales. And she owned the big, I don't know, probably 4 of those big steam pots. They're like navy blue with a bunch of white dots on them. And they have like a steamer basket in the end. I think they call them spaghetti cookers. Anyway, those were her tamale pots. And she would probably fit a couple dozen tamales in there to cook them. Double, half double. Okay. And sell those as well. She'd sell them by the dozen. And people would drive. I mean, they would drive 20 miles to come and pick up some tamales when she made them. I was laughing with one of my cousins the other day because they lived a good distance away. And they, she had standing orders from them. Whenever you make pies or whenever you make tamales, we want this many. Just tell us when and we'll be there to pick them up. So she always knew that she had those orders for sure. I think there were others too, but I always remembered that cousin's family was like that. It was cool. And did I learn all those skills? No, I did not. Thank you very much. I was only, in my defense, I was 22 when she went to be with the Lord. And sad to say, I was just getting out of my bratty phase at that point. And I hated working in the kitchen. Oh, I had no problem eating her food, obviously. But I don't know what it was. Cooking was not for me. And I didn't appreciate what I had there and all that I could have learned from her. Anyway, my excuse was that, Mom, I've got homework. I've got to go do my homework. Anytime she wanted me to help her. Is that not sad? Okay. We are at a corner. Half double, chain 2, half double. And then back to the 3rd. Let's make sure those all look like half doubles. I start talking. Yeah, they look good. Okay, well, I think that's probably close to an hour. So I'm going to end this for today, and we'll see how it goes. Hope you enjoyed sitting and crocheting with me and hearing me chatter on. Apparently, I have plenty to say. I will see you next time. Thanks for crocheting with Christine.